Today, we're talking about what to do if you want to post on Instagram and you want to use Instagram for your real estate business, but you hate showing your face and your voice, especially on video. What would the goal of a great social media presence be? Like, let's say you figured it out and you're posting consistently, maybe not every day, but maybe at least once a week, and you're showing up consistently and engaging with people. Might be text only, sure, but still resonates with tone and context that speaks directly to your ideal clients. What your business can look like if you choose to go against the grain. It's a safe thing to go against the grain. You can do things your own way. You got into this business for some semblance of freedom and flexibility. It makes no sense to then put yourself into a tiny box where it's just not going to fit for you. If you have found your way here, you are a real estate pro who's ready to transition from chasing leads to getting dream clients to chase you. This podcast is where you will learn the business and system strategies you need to grow your real estate business so that you can get paid consistently, connect with dream clients, and keep your sanity. Hey, and welcome back to the Market Authority Show. I am super excited to have this conversation with you today because it's actually been very topical this week and sparked by some real stories that occurred in the Market Authority Academy. Today, we're talking about what to do if you want to post on Instagram and you want to use Instagram for your real estate business, but you hate showing your face and your voice, especially on video. Now, I think that this is a really interesting conversation to have because if you look to most social media coaches or most gurus out there, they are probably going to say in most cases that absolutely undeniably you have to have your face and voice on video on social media to get the full benefit of it. And I know that there's merit to that, and I understand the point that those individuals are trying to make. But when I had a coaching call earlier this week with the Market Authority Academy, one of the members stepped up and very bravely shared her challenges with social media. And she said, Steph, I know social media is here to stay. I did not grow up with social media. This is something that happened a little bit after I came up. And so it still feels new and foreign and uncomfortable to me. And to that point, I'm in an area, in a market where we don't want to share everything, and privacy still matters to myself and a lot of my clients. And so my question is how can I be successful on social media without sharing my face and sharing my voice? And so I want to talk about that a little bit. I want to dissect why that might be happening. And I want to share the guidance that I gave to this agent in that situation, because I have a feeling that this is a lot more common than not. And if you're watching this on YouTube, and if this is something that resonates with you, please leave a comment so that that agent who I'm sharing her story with knows that she's not alone and that others who are listening to this might not feel so alone either. Because a lot of us did not grow up with social media. A lot of us are still trying to navigate what feels like a new and foreign environment. But it can be really challenging to navigate that when it feels like there are so many voices from every side saying that we have to do things one way for it to be successful or we are wasting our time. And I'm here to say I don't think that's fair, and I don't think that is entirely valid. Now, I have been talking about Instagram for real estate for 5+ years now, at least. Like, when I grew my real estate business, I got licensed back in 2014. I did not know a lot of people in my area. I was a new professional, so I did not have a deep professional network. And I didn't have a lot of money for ads. Or buying leads. And so the only way that I knew to grow my business was through social media. And social media has been absolutely an incredible tool for me to use in my real estate business. If you are new to this channel, then you might not understand the depth of how much I've used Instagram in my real estate business. But at one point, it accounted for more than 70% of my organic new clients, meaning I've never paid for a client or a lead on Instagram, and I'm still generating on Instagram, are totally bought into our brand. Like, the reason why I think social media is so important for real estate is that when I get a client on social media, I'm not going to their house for a listing appointment to compete against other agents. The first time this happened for me and really hit home, it was 2016 or 2017. And we went to this listing appointment from someone who was selling their home and buying a new one. They were upgrading. And these were dream clients of ours. Like I wanted a million of these guys. Like they were absolutely amazing people to start with. Our kind of people, and also transacting in a price point in a part of town where I wanted to be selling homes. And so I was like, this is great. Let's nail this listing appointment and hopefully they choose us. That was our mindset at the time. We get to the listing table and we're having the listing appointments. And to us, this is still kind of a standard listing appointment situation. And I ask the question, so how many other realtors are you interviewing with? The wife looked at me and said, oh, no, we're not interviewing other realtors. We've been following you on Instagram for years now. And I've been telling my husband here that for years, when we sell this home, it's the Lugos who are going to help us. Like it's always been you guys. It has to be you guys. And at that moment, it was such a earth-shattering, like mindset-changing moment where I realized the power of social media. I hadn't spent a dime to get that lead. I walked in there thinking I was going to have objections and competition to face, and it was really just me and Bryce, my husband, getting there to get the doc sign. It was great. And so all of my client experiences, almost all of them, have been just like that when they are coming from Instagram. And so it is an incredible tool to build that know, like, and trust factor. The question I think comes is that still possible if one does not wish to share their face and voice because maybe they're not comfortable on video or maybe they just don't like that feeling of vulnerability? It doesn't matter why. Is it possible or not? And so when I was coaching my agent through this process, she was uncomfortable even asking the question, not because the Market Authority Academy wasn't a safe space for her. It really was. But I could tell it was a vulnerable moment for her because she was admitting that what felt like a silly fear to her was getting in the way of her being able to accomplish something that she felt was an absolute necessity in her real estate business. And that is a tough thing to admit, right? In and of itself. But what I did in that instance was I said, let's talk about that. Like, how big of an issue is this for you? I don't want to hear why you're not showing up on social media on your face. Like, I don't want to hear the why behind it. It doesn't matter why. How much of an issue is this creating for you? And I said, is this so much of an issue to where you are not able to create a consistent marketing plan because you don't know what else to post? Because all you're hearing are examples of people posting reels or face-to-camera stories and beautiful branded photos of your face. Like, is it because you don't know what else you would possibly post in a way that would resonate with your audience? And she said, yeah, that's a big part of it. And she continued to say, when I think about it, I have so much business right now from referral and from my past clients and from what I do in my community that I don't know that I even need Instagram to continue growing my real estate business. I think Instagram is really helpful for me in a couple of different ways, but I'm also struggling, like, if I don't want to do this, do I even need to do this to start with? Am I creating unnecessary stress? And I thought, well, that's a really interesting conversation. And so let's talk about that. And so the first question that I had for this individual was, I said, well, you still seem like that you want to do this. You still seem like you want to be utilizing Instagram. Is that correct? And she said, yeah, I do. I think it's valuable and I think that I should. And I said, okay, what would the goal of a great social media presence be? Like, let's say you figured it out and you're posting consistently, maybe not every day, but maybe at least once a week, and you're showing up consistently and engaging with people. What is Instagram doing for you at that point? And she said, I think it's really helpful to stay on top of mind with my past clients and my referrals. And I said, absolutely. A big part of what we do in Market Authority Academy is engaging with our database on social media with Instagram. So that makes sense. And she said, yeah, and also when I get referrals that I haven't already met before, the first thing they tend to do is reach out to me through Instagram or to look on my Instagram. And she said, I think it would be really helpful for them to be able to see that, yeah, I'm a real person. I know my stuff, and really just to showcase my authority there. And I said, absolutely. Showcasing your authority makes sense. And oftentimes Instagram is just as good as a conversion tool than anything. And she said, and there's a lot about my market, like the area that I sell in, that I want to be able to showcase on Instagram. I'm really into hiking. I'm really into outdoorsy stuff. I want to show my pictures without it seeming it's out of place. And I said, yeah, I mean, that's area competency. Like you have to establish area competency as a real estate agent. So that makes total sense. So now we have the goal. We want to stay top of mind with people who are already in our audience, who are probably already on Instagram, no matter what. That's number one. Number two, we want to have kind of a soft landing spot for referrals or people who are finding us online to vet us in a space that they feel comfortable in, because statistically speaking, they are also probably on Instagram. And so they want to see a little bit more about us beyond just the fact that we're a real estate agent. And we want to establish area competency. We want to be able to share what we love and let that passion of where we live shine through. Perfect. Those are great goals to have with social media. Now, the question is do we have to share our face and our voice to accomplish those things? I don't think that we do. And so what I did in this instance is I walked through this individual through two things that she needed to know. She needed to know how to post. That doesn't include voice to cam, like, videos, face to cam rather, and face pictures. And she needed to know what to do instead. And then she needed to look for inspiration to see how other people are doing that really well on Instagram. And so first, I want to give you a couple of quick exercises that you could do. So if you are listening to this and you're like, man, this sounds great. Like, where do I start? We do have to have content to get us started. And I do think that a branding photo shoot still makes a lot of sense. But can we go onto Pinterest, for example, and search no face photo poses and come up with some really good ideas on photos, like branded professional photos, and maybe even some B-roll video that could be really well presented on Instagram that still show our person, but doesn't necessarily put us in that vulnerable light that just doesn't feel authentic. And so if you go onto Pinterest, just for example, and if you're not on Pinterest, like there are so many great ideas that I find all the time on Pinterest. All we got to do is search for no face photo ideas, and you will find so many different poses and so many ways that you can take pictures out and about or have branded photos done that don't feel very vulnerable. So take a look, and maybe after you're done listening to this, go through and scroll and tag some of these photos that you like, or add them to a board so that you can save them for inspiration. And that was the first thing that I told this agent to do. I said, you need to go look at what's possible. Like right now you're struggling with this idea because you don't have another alternative in mind. You need to know what other options you have. So let's start there. And you might find that you come up with so many great ideas that suddenly posting feels a lot easier for you. And suddenly we're not letting the idea of perfect hold us back, because now we have other ways that we can kind of be creative and show up. And that alone was super helpful, where suddenly this agent had permission to try something different and to find new solutions. So that alone is a huge win. And sometimes that's as much as you need to get comfortable with a new platform and then gain confidence, because now you're posting more consistently. And now you have enough confidence to maybe try posting a video with your face. Or maybe not, but maybe, right? Stepping stones. Now, that's just one easy way to do it. I gave her a couple of other tips, but the next thing that we do, number 3, now remember, we talked about what's the goal? Like, can we accomplish our goal without doing this? Yeah. Number 2, look on Pinterest or get some ideas for no face pictures. Now, the other option that I gave on that was, instead of no face pictures, can we post just graphic posts, right? And by graphics, I mean text-only posts. And you absolutely can, and you can do this in a way that doesn't look super spammy or inauthentic or out of place at all. So I'll point to one of my types of content that I really like to share, and these are carousel text-only posts. Now, I'm just going to show a couple of examples here on the screen of some text-only posts that I do. Some of them you'll see have a photo of me on them, and some of them don't. But basically what I'm doing is I'm creating content that either showcases something that I want to talk about in my business or answers a frequently asked question, and creating a text only post. And I'm doing this with a template that I have on Canva. So the template's always there. All I have to do is copy the template or duplicate it rather, and then change out the text. Sometimes I'm using ChatGPT to help me clean up my verbiage, but more often than not, I'm directly answering a question that has been given to me with the answer that I have, right? So again, just look at these formats of posts that you can do, and you will find that you have tons of different kinds of content that you can create that never require your face, right? So take a look at some of those options, but that's only one example. This leads us to step number 3. What other accounts do this really well? So I'm going to share 2 accounts with you that I follow that I think do this exceptionally well. Now, one of them that I want to share is an account who is a copywriting account. They're a copywriting duo. They write websites, they write web copy, they write copy for just about anything that you can imagine, and you can also buy a lot of their templates online, which is cool. But if you look at their Instagram feed, what is so interesting is there is not one post practically with their face on it for a while. Like you have to scroll pretty far. And even then, if they are in the image, it's a very abstract image where you're not seeing all of their face, right? Maybe they're looking off to the side. Maybe it's more of a profile view, and it just makes them feel a little bit more confident in showing up. Now, these individuals, they grew this massive following, Maha Copy Co. They grew this massive following, and they did it in, I think, just like 2 years or something like that. I could be totally wrong. And they did it by posting once a week. And instead of posting a lot of volume of content, they posted strategic, extremely narrow content, like zooming in on one specific detail that they could really cut to the bone on and activate their audience. And so one thing that we do that this brings to mind is in in the Market Authority Academy, when we are learning how to create content, we go through a process called ideal client mapping. And this is what I told this individual on the coaching call. When we go through ideal client mapping, we do a lot of research on our ideal clients, and then we learn specifically from their challenges, from their questions, from their desires. We take that and create kind of a formula on exactly what type of content to create that speaks to that one specific question. So instead of creating like Googleable content that is just like super surface level and just waters down the noise, we are creating content that speaks directly to our ideal client that uses their language. So let me just share an example of how Maha Copy Co. would do this on one of their posts, and then I'll share an example of how you do this in real estate. So I'm looking at this one. This is super cute. How to nail your homepage headline. So again, they're copywriters. How to nail your homepage headline is a very narrow, specific tip to add, right? And this is not how to write great copy on your website. This is not how to set up a website in 2024. This is how to nail your homepage headline. They go on to say your homepage headline will be the most read words on your website. So again, validating why this is such a great post. And then they say, so how do you make people want to keep reading? A really great example for real estate might be if you're trying, just again, as an example, if you're trying to speak to first-time home buyers, instead of saying something like how to purchase a home in 2024, again, super broad, super easy to be watered down, super generic, super surface level. And instead, you might look to what is holding them back from actually buying a home in 2024. They probably already know how to buy a home in 2024. If they had to figure it out, they probably could. Instead, what would be holding them back? So they might be thinking, well, I can't afford to buy the home that I want in 2024 because I can't afford the home that I want. So maybe instead, if we get really hyper specific, the post topic is how to purchase a condo that you can afford and turn it into your dream home, not dream home, in 2026, right? So, how to purchase a condo or a smaller home that is within their affordability, but not something that they necessarily want to be in forever, and teach them almost how to house hack that into what they truly desire, which is a 3-bed, 2-bath home in the school district that they're really wanting to be in, right? So, again, like getting hyper specific on these scenarios and speaking in a way that almost makes your audience of ideal clients thinking, "Whoa, it's like she's using my thoughts, like she's speaking exactly like I would be thinking." Now that's kind of like an abstract example, and I kinda did that on the fly, so forgive me if that's, like, way over your head, but start thinking about how you can get not surface level, but really, really specific and broad to create content that might be text only, sure, but still resonates with tone and context that speaks directly to your ideal clients and is going to really help them develop that know, like, and trust with you because they feel as if you see them and you understand their true desires. Another example that I want to give to you is one of my friends, Caroline, at Blueprint Brand Studio. And I spoke to her about this because as I was thinking about this topic, this question, I realized, Caroline, who does all of our real estate branding, I said to myself, Caroline doesn't show her face on social media, and yet she runs a very successful business. And social media is a part of it. It's not the only part of it, but her content is very personable. And so check out this example too if you're watching on YouTube here. If you're listening, just check out the show notes below. But Blueprint Brand Studio on Instagram, you will see that she has a lot of this text only type content. And she does have some images that show her person, but again, they're abstract. She's maybe covering partially her face. And it's really not just so much about her. And when I reached out to her about this, she and I send voice notes to each other constantly. Maybe not constantly, but I feel like I'm constantly pestering her about something. And I reached out to her and I said, this question came up and I'm just wondering, like, you don't have to tell me any specifics, but is there a reason why you don't do a lot of face to cam or video? And she's on the stories daily. But if you follow her on the stories, you will notice that it's never video. It's almost always text. And so Caroline is an excellent writer. She is an incredible designer, an excellent writer. But that writing really shines through when she shows her creates content on Instagram, rather. And I reached out to her about this, and she said, it's funny that you ask because it's just kind of a natural pattern that I settled into unintentionally, and it's just kind of what's worked for me. There is no one reason why I decided not to show my face. It's just that I like my privacy and I want my work to speak for itself, and that's what I post. And I was like, oh, that's totally valid. That totally makes sense. And she went on to say, we're a branding studio, and we're a branding studio for real estate agents. And I never wanted to be necessarily like the Caroline show. And I'm just speaking for her at this point. But kind of what she mentioned was, I don't want everybody to recognize my branding just by Caroline. I want it to be its own thing. I want Blueprint Brand Studio to stand on its own because I want a lot of different types of real estate agents who desire the quality of work that I do to be able to relate with my brand. And so this was an interesting aspect that I thought was worth considering as well. And she goes on to say, there's plenty of brands that we've done that have more of a feminine feel or have a specific vibe to it. But I also want the gentleman, like the distinguished, seasoned real estate agent who's been in the business for decades, who, feels like their branding is totally outdated, but hasn't really found something that feels elegant and distinguished until they find Blueprint. And so again, she wants her content to be able to speak for itself. She wants her work to be able to speak to itself and also resonate with a couple of different ideal clients that she has. And maybe she doesn't have a bunch of different ideal clients that she's trying to target, but instead her ideal client may be across the spectrum of the demographics, right, that she's got to be considered to. And in real estate, we find ourselves there as well, where we're looking to work with a couple of different ideal clients, and the demographics are not necessarily the key thing. Now, is that always the case? No, like some of us do just naturally lend into like more one way or another, just in terms of who it is that we're attracting. For example, we do tend to work with a lot of families, just because of the homes that we're selling just happen to be homes that families right now need, right? Larger ranch homes, 3, 4, 5 bedrooms, right? That are in close proximity to things to do with kids and near great schools. Obviously, the right buyer or seller for that a lot of times is going to happen to be a young family or a more seasoned and growing family, right? And so we do tend to get those individuals. But again, if the decision maker is going to care one way or another, like, it would make sense not to only create branding that is going to alienate like 60% of your clientele. And so again, we can kind of look to this. And I thought that Blueprint Brand Studio on Instagram, they do an amazing job of showcasing this brand that again is so accessible, so personable, so easy to understand what they're all about, because she does a lot of storytelling. She does a lot of educating on this. And it's just exciting to look at. It's just exciting to read, and it's easy content to take a look at. So look at those two examples. I did reach out to Caroline. She gave me permission to give her a shout out and kind of share that context. But those are two options that you can look at. So Maha Copy Co is going to have all text content, and Blueprint Brand Studio is going to have a little bit of a mix, but again, still very much favoring more of a private showing. So check that out. I thought that was really, really interesting. But that is the guidance that I gave that real estate agent. I gave that agent kind of that whole look of things. And I said, look, this is how we can do it. And it was really cool because while we were on that coaching call, I had, we always have, it's a small group coaching. So it's just like incredibly warm group of like-minded agents just supporting each other and collaborating and sharing ideas, which is amazing. And one of the members who was on the call went into the chat and she said, other coaches might have said showing your face is the only way, but Stefanie is always accepting and willing to offer alternative options because it does have to be personalized to you. And it was really interesting because after we got off that call, the agents gave us a little bit of an update later that day. She was feeling so inspired and so empowered after that conversation, where she felt like she could actually take action. And she posted in our private group later, she said, thanks for the amazing call today. Despite my social media anxieties, I know social media is here to stay, and it's very useful if I allow it to be. So again, she's taking the onus on it. She said, with a little bit of help, I finally got my Instagram link in bio up and running today. I love it. It's got some great hiking photos for cover pages for now. I need to get more lifestyle and action photos for sure, but finished is always better than perfect. And then she went on to say, this now has my Calendly page, my seller and buyer guides, and some landing pages to add a few more things in. So she was feeling so inspired that she was able to set up her entire link in bio with a links page, which is what we use, and get it all set up where before she wasn't sure if it even mattered enough to put it together because she didn't know if she was going to stick with social media, right? She said, thanks for the inspo and support today. This group is phenomenal. So again, I really want to make sure that when we're having conversations like this, we're helping to guide people down their own path. We're helping them to find solutions that work with them and to create a business that resonates with their goals and their ideas of what success looks like for them. And so I wanted to just share that. I know this was a lengthy conversation, but I think that it's important that we talk about what your business can look like if you choose to go against the grain. It's a safe thing to go against the grain. You can do things your own way. You got into this business for some semblance of freedom and flexibility. It makes no sense to then put yourself into a tiny box where it's just not going to fit for you. And I'm always here to help you find other solutions. And so I hope that you found that helpful. If you're looking for this kind of personalized guidance, then let's talk. We are always opening up applications for new members. As long as we have capacity in the Market Authority Academy, you can apply. And the way that that works is if you go to stefanielugo.com/coaching, you're going to have a bunch of details on how the coaching works, like the coaching options that we have on that page. You're going to see buttons that say apply now. You just click apply now, and it's going to take you to my Calendly booking page. And that's going to be about 60 seconds of you choosing a time that works for you. You're going to get booked on our calendars. and we're going to have a conversation. We're going to start by listening to like your business and what's working for you, what's not, where you're stuck. And if it seems like we can help, then we'll talk about the Market Authority Academy and really how the program's going to work for you. And at that point, if you're like, heck yes, this is like exactly what I've been looking at, cool. Then we'll talk about next steps and show you how to register. If it's not a fit, then we maybe point you in another direction or just part as friends. And so again, I just want to show that you've got support. There's a way that you can find camaraderie and have somebody always in your corner. I'd love to be that person for you if this is the type of help that you're looking for. But I hope that at least the conversation helped you see what's possible if you also have been really stuck on the social media front side of things. Let me know. Shoot me a DM on Instagram and let me know if this resonated with you. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Big thanks to the Market Authority Academy, as always, for those members always being so open to share their ideas and their struggles and being vulnerable in a safe space to where they know that we're going to hold space for them and help them get through whatever they're stuck on, whether it's a minor thing or whether it's something that's a little bigger and they really need to roll up their sleeves and get some help with that. Because we're always in your corner. And I appreciate you, agents of the Market Authority Academy, for creating that space in the industry for myself and for others to continue to succeed. I hope that you love this conversation, and I hope they have a great rest of your week ahead. Thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, keep on crushing it.